Society didn't raise a generation of strong men. I would even say that it failed at it. Instead, it raised a generation of men who are manageable. You see, there is a big difference between the two. Imagine taking a lion and you take that lion, you put it in a zoo. You are feeding it every day. You are controlling where it walks. You are controlling when it moves, when it makes noise, telling it when to sit, when to stand, when to be quiet. You see, eventually that lion forgets that it's a lion. And that is what exactly happens when masculinity is constantly treated as something that needs to be tamed, as opposed to something that needs to be disciplined. You see, we are not teaching the lions of this society how to govern their strength. We're teaching them how to become manageable. You see, and there is a massive difference. You see, between taming a young boy and training a young boy. Taming says, stop being that way. It shames the traits that make masculinity. Training says, on the other hand, learn how to control that strength. You see, a strong boy doesn't need to be taught that his strength is a problem. He needs to be taught how to govern it. His aggression doesn't need to become cruelty. His competition doesn't need to become hatred. His strength doesn't need to become violence. His courage doesn't need to become recklessness. His desire to lead doesn't need to be tyranny. The goal isn't to destroy those instincts that are there naturally. The goal is to discipline them, because we can agree that a man who has strength but cannot control himself is a dangerous man. But on the other hand, a man who has strength and has learned how to govern himself, that man is a man who can be trustworthy. That is a man who can protect. That is a man who can build. That is a man who can lead, a man who can sacrifice, a man who can carry responsibility. And here's something we've forgotten, actually. You see, a good man isn't necessarily a man incapable of bad things. A good man can be capable of destruction and still choose restraint. He can be capable of violence and still choose peace. He can be capable of, or he can be powerful and still choose humility. He can be dangerous and still be disciplined. That's the difference. Give me a man who has no strength, no courage, no capacity for aggression, no ability to protect himself or others, and you may have a harmless man. But give me a man with strength, courage, power, aggression, and capacity, who has learned how to govern himself. Now you have a man who can protect. Now you have a man who can lead and bring order to society. Now you have a man who can be trusted with power. But instead, we have spent years since kindergarten teaching men to suppress everything that makes them difficult to manage. And eventually, they don't just control themselves, but they forget in the process who they are themselves. They forget their strength. They forget their courage. They forget their capacity. They forget that they're supposed to carry responsibility. Eventually, we end up with a society full of lions that have forgotten how to be lions. Not because the lions disappeared, but because they were tamed. Because they were taught to behave in a certain way that goes against their natural nature. And this is why I don't believe the answer to make men more, the answer is to make men more comfortable. You see, the answer is to make them more stronger, not more violent, not more arrogant, not more controlling, stronger, disciplined enough to govern their strength, wise enough to know when to use it, humble enough not to abuse it, courage enough to act when action is necessary, not to be passive, and responsible enough to carry what has been placed in their hands. Because you see, society doesn't need more manageable men. It needs men who remember what they're capable of and have enough character to govern it. We do not need to tame the lion until there's nothing left of the lion. We need to teach the lion to govern itself, because a lion that has forgotten it's a lion isn't free. It's simply manageable. And the longer we continue confusing taming with training, the worse this gets. Society will keep producing manageable lions until eventually there are no lions left who remember what they were meant to be. No who remembers that they need to take the full responsibility to protect society. Don't tame the boy until there's nothing left of the lion. Teach the lion how to govern itself. Christ is King. Peace.